Alright, ladies and gentlemen, this is the owners of the RWA, and it is our unfortunate duty to notify the rest of the fans that John Rasnick has passed.
AKA John Dozer, AKA
John Justice. He has passed away. He didn't make it. It's very unfortunate. The only thing we know of right now is that we're the wrestling group that we've been with for the past 5 to 6 years is all honorary pallbearers at the service that will be happening sometime next week, I'm guessing. He's an organ donor, so it's going to take a while for the process to begin for the services, I guess. It's hard. It genuinely is. And as for ACBW and GSBW, I have no idea what their plan is, but honestly, ACBW's changed to be a tribute show for John. He was family to us. He was honestly one of the brothers that he was one of the main 4 pillars of the RWA, and therefore, bless you, we have no idea of what will be next for the RWA or anything like that.
How long it'll be before we start again?
If we do.
I'm going to just put it out there. For probably the next month, us as a wrestling group and as human beings, we're going to take the next month probably to grieve and reflect on the life of John, because John wouldn't want us to stop. He wouldn't want us to just give up and quit. So for the next probably month, maybe month and a half, we're going to take the time to, grieve and reflect on John's life. But as of quitting and RWA stopping, it's not going to happen, because John would want us to keep pushing forwards. He would want us to put on bigger and better events than we ever had before. And from this point forward, at the beginning of every RWA show, John's theme will be played. And everything that we do, everything that we say, everything that we put our heart and souls into, we will be carrying on John's legacy through ourselves. He's gone, but he'll never be forgotten. At the end of the day, John, as Brett said, was one of the 4 pillars of the company. And without John, we never would have been able to have the ring, and we never would have been able to get as far along with the RWA as we have. So, everything that you see us do from this point forward will be for John. And it's a shock. None of us pictured anything happening to John, because John was always safe and careful in everything that he did. So it comes as a shock to everybody. But with that being said, we are going to push forward. We are going to continue on. And we've all made our promises that we are going to continue with the RWA for John. It's just going to take some time so we can grieve and reflect on John's life. And once we do, our first RWA show when we come back will be a tribute show for John. And it will, from that point forward, every match that we have, you will see John's duster hanging up in the background. And like I said, John's theme for wrestling will be played at the beginning of every show. John was somebody that we all looked up to. He was somebody that we all knew that we could go to if we were having a bad day. Not just as somebody to talk to, but somebody to make us laugh. Somebody to put a smile on our faces when we thought all hope was lost, to have a smile.
Somebody that was larger than life itself.
John was somebody that when things seemed like they were falling apart and we seemed like we were going to break up as a group and as friends, John was the one who held us all together. John was the heart and soul of every company that he wrestled for. This is not something that, quite frankly, we're going to take a day or two to get over. It's going to take some time. We just ask that all of you, keep us in your thoughts, keep us in your prayers, because right now we need it. We're all broken apart and torn up about it. But like I said, it'll be probably about a month to a month and a half before we upload or have another RWA event, just because we need time. But John was everything to every single one of us. John was somebody that, you could always count on. Always. It didn't matter what it was, didn't matter the situation. If you needed him, he would be there. He would give you the shirt off his back if he felt that's what he needed to do.
He helped us with a lot, genuinely, with the RWA, as Brian said. If you guys like the ring, thank John. If you liked the first ever backyard wrestling casket match, thank John. I actually regret not letting him win in that casket match, because one of his dreams was to be world heavyweight champion in a company that one of the companies that he was originally in. And honestly, I regret not making him world heavyweight champion. There's a lot of regrets I have, but I know there's nothing I can do to change it now. But also, as of RWA, we will have a ceremony this year, and John's the first inductee into the Hall of Fame.
And for those of you watching, also, not just prayer for us, as Brian said, but for his family and all the people that know him. It's gonna be hard, and not only for us, but for his parents and everybody else that knew him. So all of you that are watching, send prayers to them, to us, to whoever you feel you need to. But basically, everybody needs everybody's thoughts and prayers right now.
We was at the hospital for the last 3 days that he was around, and as Dustin said, Dustin was there in day one. He said he was in the room, and he said the feeling was not good, and we unfortunately had to deal with the worst. And it's a very difficult time. And as for ACBW, they're going to do a John Raznick Memorial Championship. That will be the new belt that will be introduced sometime maybe on the 16th, which is this coming weekend.
Before we close this video, I just want to take a moment to relive some of the memories that we have with John, because anybody and everybody that met John, they instantly knew he was more than a friend. The moment you met him, you knew he was going to be family. You knew he was going to be somebody that you could always count on. You'd always depend on. Even my cousin talked to me last night, and my cousin came over because he was pretty broken up about it when he found out the news. He'd only met John once or twice, and he knew from the moment he met John, he instantly fell in love with the guy. I mean, he saw John as a big brother, and he saw John as somebody that, he knew he could talk to, and he knew that he was going to have a lot of fun being around. He told me last night, and I have to agree with him. He told me that John was always a nice guy. He was always a caring guy. He was always, had a smile on his face. Didn't matter what the situation was that was going on in his life. John always carried a smile. John always found a way to show up and make everybody else smile and laugh. And
Especially with the I am pretty.
that's something I want to touch on. From here forward, you're probably going to hear I'm pretty, I feel pretty on the channel a lot, because that was one of the things John said the most. And John, I know you're up there and I know you're looking down on us. Since you feel so pretty, John, do me a favor and keep the skies pretty for us all. That's all I ask. One of the biggest memories I have with John was the first time I ever met him. We were over at Hunter's house, or Dustin's house, and we were all getting together, to have an event for GSPW, and it was quiet. I mean, nobody was talking because we were all like deep in our own conversations, but like we were talking low enough, you could basically hear a pin drop. We're sitting there, it's all quiet, and then next thing you know, you hear John come around the corner. He goes, "I feel pretty," and we all just died laughing because it was out of nowhere. It was just out of the blue, and he walked up. He had something in his hand. I forgot what it was, but he walked up and he just starts playing the drums on Hunter's stomach. And Hunter looks at him and he goes, "John, what are you doing?" And he was like, "I don't know." And he just kept patting his little stick on Hunter's stomach, just making everybody laugh. It was great. And that was the first time I ever met John. And I knew right then and there John was going to be something else. He was going to be a whole different ballpark of his own. And that's pretty much what he was. He wasn't a follower. He was definitely a leader. And John never believed in quitting. I mean, he showed up for as long as I can remember. John always had knee problems. He always had problems out of the one knee. That's why we called him Galloping Giraffe, because he galloped, he didn't run. But even with that knee problem, and even with his knee as sore as it was, he always showed up, was always there, and he didn't care what it took. He was there to wrestle. He was there to put on a show for everybody. He was there to entertain, cut up, carry on, laugh, make jokes. And he was just, it didn't matter what got thrown his way. He always stood tall, he took it like a champ, and kept going. We all have really good memories with John. And that's what is pulling us through all of this, is our memories with John. It's like I said, this is not a goodbye, John. This is an I'll see you soon, because we all will. And I hope you're up there kicking back with Xander, drinking a cold one for me. You weren't my friend. You were my brother. And I would never forget you, John, ever. Your life, your legacy, your friendship, all the times that we had together, I'll never forget any of them. That'll stick with me to the day I die.
Same here, and as for the man I know is John Rasnick. I've never had such a better bowling partner in my life. Never had such a friend that would offer to take me out, no questions asked. Offer to bring me and my girlfriend out for dinner, just to hang out. Always there for me, no matter what I was going through. He helped me in one of the darkest times of my life, and to an extent, he'd even saved my life. And so, John, don't ever believe that you're forgotten. You never will be, especially in the heart of the RWA and the three of us in general. We'll always believe here. We always know you won't be here physically, but you'll always be with us at heart. And I love you, brother. It's definitely going to be hard.
What else is there to say? They basically said it all. As for moments with John, I guess the 3D he took is probably my biggest moment with him. He was actually willing to take a 3D from us. He was willing to take just about anything as long as we were safe about it. And he was a good guy. I loved him to death. Even if, as Brian said, if all of us were in a pee-off mood, he'd always find some way to make all of us laugh for stupid reasons.
That was just John, man. And it's like Brett said, John, without hesitation, he didn't care if we had the money to pay him back. He didn't care if we didn't have a job at all. He was, every time he showed up, he would always ask me and Brett, y'all want to go to the restaurant with me? There's a Mexican restaurant not too far from here. He would always take us there. Always. I mean, if he had his day off the next day, it was always want to go to the restaurant with me. And I'm glad I said yes all the times that I did, because we'd be driving down the road just listening to comedians on his phone, and we'd be sitting there laughing, cutting up, and carrying on, and then it was always something to look forward to. You know, seeing John was something that you always look forward to. If you know, everybody else showed up, if John wasn't here, it didn't feel the same. If John, if he wasn't able to make it, he would let us know, but it didn't feel the same, because you know, like, if everybody got in a irritated state of mind, that it would just be dealt with the way that we usually deal with it. But when John showed up, it was dealt with by him making us laugh and smile. And John just, he was his own special kind of person, you know. He was one of those people, he could light up the darkest room. And that's not me just saying that. It was the truth. I mean, there was countless times when the three of us were at each other's throats, and it might not seem like it, because, you know, the three of us are probably the closest out of any of our friends. But there was times when we were at our throats because we were all just pissed off. We were irritated. We were at our wits. And John would show up, and he mended everything 2 or 3 times, and he saved the RWA, because there was a couple times, me and this one, where we were ready to call it quits. We just said, we're done. The RWA is just falling apart, and we're done. But John showed up, and he was like, no, we're not done. He said, I'm in this company as well. He said, I helped you guys start this company. He said, and this was his exact words, I'll be damned if I watch it fall. And he instantly changed the mood, made us all laugh, and before we knew it, we were in the backyard, we were wrestling just for the hell of it. Not even to put up an event. We were just wrestling just for the hell of it. And we forgot about every care in the world. We were just back there having fun, doing whatever, and it was because of John. So, like Brett said, if you like the ring, thank John. If you like, you know, all the content that you've seen on the channel, thank John. And if you like the RWA as a whole, thank John, because John's the one who saved it.
In the first ever backyard wrestling casket match.
The casket, John did that as well.
He made the frame, and me and Will finished it at the event, and I still hate it I didn't put him over. I honestly, I don't even remember why I didn't put him over. I was just happy enough that I wanted to show him our appreciation for helping us and making him the first ever Nitro champion.
You know, John may have never held the world title. He may have never actually wore that belt. John was a world champ of his own.
He did wear the belt.
John didn't need that belt on the channel. John didn't need that belt to prove he was a world champion. John was a world champion of his own. John was a world champion to us, because John took on the world, and he carried it with every ounce of his body. He carried it. And like I said, it didn't matter what he was dealing with. If he knew that we weren't in a good state of mind, he would take us out, hang out with us, and he was talking to us about our problems. He would never tell us a lot of his stuff. There was some of the stuff, you know, he just wouldn't talk about. But he didn't care about it, because he was too busy caring about what was going on in our heads, what was going on in our life. And so when I say he took on the weight of the world, he took on the weight of the world. And so John, for that, he was a world champion. He may never have held that belt or wore that belt on the channel, but he was a world champion of his own. And he was the greatest world champion to ever exist, to ever be alive. I don't care. You can say all you want about the WWE World Champions, about the AEW World Champions. John is the greatest world champion to ever walk this planet. John is the greatest world champion to ever be a world champion. There will never be a world champion like John, ever. I don't care who it is, how famous they are, if they're in the Hall of Fame or not. John is the greatest world champion, ever. And no one will change my mind on that.
And the man known as John Raznick will always be believed as one of the greatest wrestlers of all time in our backyard. Whether anybody else believes that or not. Even such as opposing companies as SVBW was even there for him. I hate it, as I didn't expect it, but even rivals can, once you wrestle with a certain amount of people or a certain group of people, wrestling makes a band of brothers. And SVBW showed their appreciation by showing up there for him 2 days ago. I didn't expect it, but John would have appreciated it. Because whether we realize it or not, just because you don't like somebody once after you wrestle them doesn't mean you don't care. You'll always have a heart, no matter if you don't like the person or not. Even wrestlers from the past that we don't associate with as much anymore, they care. But there's got to be something on the brighter note. And so, this morning when I woke up, there was something on the brighter note. And it surprised me because I think it's a word from John. This morning I looked at the channel, we just hit 100 subscribers. And I honestly believed it was just John showing his appreciation and gratitude towards us for trying to carry on his legacy for as long as we can. And we want to thank you all for watching and paying attention to this video. I know it's somewhat of a rant, but you gotta remember, if you gotta think of it this way, you don't know until you meet the man in person. And I'm sorry for the ones I didn't get to. Even the kids that showed up that day, I don't even think they know yet. And if they come back one day, it'll be heartbreaking to relay that information. But thank you, John, for everything you've done for the RWA. And thank you for being one of our true friends. Thank you for being a brother to the family that we have as a wrestling group. Thank you for being there for us whenever we needed you, no matter what the situation was. And this is just for me. Thank you for being there from one of the darkest times in my life. For making me push forward and actually wanting to continue backyard wrestling. But as everybody else has decided along with me, we will not upload for the next month to a month and a half. The first RWA show will be a tribute to John. It'll be a 10-bell salute. It will have his duster along with the belts that he's won in all companies. We love you, John.
We love and miss you, John. And most importantly, thank you, John.
This is 3 owners of the RWA. Have a nice day.